Hello student. Today we are going to learn the government budget and the economy, chapter 5 on the macroeconomics. So we'll see what is government budget. A government budget is an annual financial statement showing item-wise expected revenue and anticipated expenditure of the government during a financial year or fiscal year. But then fiscal year is what is that? Fiscal year is basically starts from 1st April to 31st March of next year. And in the beginning of every year, Finance Minister of India present before the Lok Sabha an union budget for coming financial year. Like 2020, our Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman present the union budget on 1st April 2020. So likewise, before any financial year starts, the finance minister present the budget before the Lok Sabha and read out the financial budget for the upcoming year. The objective of the financial budget is to provide the statement of estimated government receipts and expenditure. Budget estimate pertain to a fixed period of time, generally for 1 year. Expenditure and sources of finance are planned in accordance with the objective of the government. It requires to be approved by the Parliament or Assembly or any other authority before its implementation. So that is government budget. Now what is the objective? The objective of a government budget are: first one is to provide stable economic growth, to promote the rapid and balanced economic growth so as to improve the living standard of the people. How? Because if your income is more, if you get factor income more, you will get more per capita income, and that's what your disposable income will increase. That's why your living standard also increase. So the government will provide the balance and sustainable increase in real GDP of the economy, not the nominal GDP, because it's basically nominal GDP talks about the inflation, but real GDP will get the actually how much you are able to your afford on disposable on goods and services from your disposable income. That's what the real GDP talks about, and that's sustained in the volume of goods and services and to provide the maximum social welfare of the people. That is one important objective of the government budget. The second one is reduction in of poverty and unemployment. So over here, to eradicate mass poverty and unemployment by creating employment opportunity and providing maximum social benefit to the poor. In fact, the social welfare is the single most important objective. Every Indian should be able to meet his basic needs like food, clothing, housing, that is roti, kapda or makan, along with the decent healthcare and education facility. So that is another important objective of the government budget, to provide the employment opportunity and eradicate the poverty from the society. That is, and that's what the whatever necessary action is required, fund is required, the government budget is allocate that fund and take the necessary action accordingly. Number 3, reduction of inequality. To reduce inequality of income and wealth, government can influence distribution of income through the levying taxes and granting subsidies. Government levied high rate of taxes on rich people, reducing their disposable income, and lower tax rate to the lower income group so that their disposable income will be more. Government provides subsidies and amenities to the poor families, and more emphasis is laid down to equitable distribution of income and wealth. So another objective of the government budget to reduce the inequality in distribution of income and wealth. How it will be possible? They will charge high taxes on the higher income group of people so that their disposable income will be less, whereas that tax rate will be less to the low income group so that their disposable income will be more, and at the same time the poor, they will provide the subsidies and amenities, basic amenities to the poor family so that they also get the equitable the just equitable social justice where distribution of income and wealth is possible. The next objective of the government budget is redistribution of income. Inequalities in income distribution means allocating the income distribution in such a way so that it reduces the inequality in the society, and there should not be any concentration of income among the few rich people. It requires that the rate of increase in real income of the poor section of the society should be faster than the rich section of the society. Whatever amount of tax they have collected, that should be provided more to the poor people for upliftment of the poor section so that their disposable income more, they can able to increase their living standard. That is one another objective of the government budget. So that is possible how? Because they will charge taxation policy, different taxation policy, direct, indirect, progressive taxation policy by charging high tax on higher income and low tax for low income group, subsidies to the poor people, and public expenditure for construction of the uh, poor people houses or roads, rural roads basically, etc. etc. Public expenditure can be made to achieve this objective. Next one is reallocation of the resources. To reallocate resources so as to achieve the social and economic objective, again government provide more resources to the socially productive sector where private sector initiative is not forthcoming, like public sanitation, rural electrification, education, health, etc. Moreover, government allocate uh, more fund to production of socially useful goods and draw away the resource from other areas to promote the balanced economic growth of the region. So in this case, the reallocation of resources for the uh, economic development, there is we know it that 70% of our total population live in rural areas, and their livelihood is basically comes from the agriculture, and they belongs to poor section, and that's what their health, sanitation, electrification, education, all these are taken care of by the government, because over here the private sector is not interested to join their hand, because they mostly established for making of profit in this area. In this case, rural areas, basically the all these part they are not having any profit, that's why they are not showing any interest. Over here government comes for uh, sanitation, public sanitation, rural electrification, education, health, etc. That's what the fund allocation is required, and that is another objective of the government budget, that reallocation of the resources. Next one is another important objective, that is price stability or economic stability. So the most of the cases that if the nominal GDP is increased, then price stability, that means all the general price level of the commodity will be increasing day by day, and that's what poor people will get suffer. And in that case, government another objective to provide the stable or control on price inflation in the so that the general price level of the commodity will be lesser. And how they will do it, that is there by through the charging of different taxation policies, subsidies, and different expenditure. When there is inflation, government can reduce its expenditure, that is public cut down of public expenditure. And there, when there is depression, government can reduce the tax, grant subsidies, so that the disposable income of the poor people can increase. That is another objective, to control on the price fluctuation. And the last point is the managing of uh, the public sector unit, financing and managing of public sector unit. And public sector unit, mostly we know it, that the railways, power generation, water lines, etc., they are run by the government. And for to maintain, to run that one, for the national interest, government also allocate the fund for this uh, organization, for this department. And so that the national interest or the most objective is that the growth and rapid growth and sustainable growth is possible for the economy. So that is all the objective of the government budget. Over here in this section, you will get question by the CBSE every year. They design the question, and any 2 point or 3 point they will be asked question, you have to explain it. We move to the next part, that is called what are the component of government budget. So we'll find it, government budget basically it has budget receipts and budget expenditure. Budget receipts is classified revenue receipts and capital receipts. Budget expenditure is classified revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. So both are all are same. Look at over here. The budget receipts are classified revenue receipts, capital receipts. Expenditure is classified revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Again, revenue expenditure are basically tax. Uh, Revenue receipts are basically tax receipts and non-tax receipts, and capital receipts are basically the borrowings, recovery of loans, disinvestment of PUC, etc. These are example I have given. So sometimes question will be asked that you have to classify which are the revenue receipts, which are capital receipts. So these are few example I have put over here, that these are capital receipt like recovery of loans, borrowings, disinvestment of public sector unit, that is PSU, etc. So we'll be learning detail in the next part. Now next, revenue expenditure are basically public expenditure, interest payment, subsidies, etc. They are public expenditure, interest and interest payment, subsidies, etc. They are come under revenue expenditure. Capital expenditure, purchase of assets, repayment of loan, construction of road, building, school, etc. They are all example of capital expenditure. So these are different example is given that you have to remember. And now direct tax receipts are basically direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax, as you know it, the income tax, property tax, they are direct tax. Indirect tax are basically GST, VAT, sales tax, etc. That is indirect tax. We learn in detail again. Commercial non-tax revenue are basically the commercial revenues. Basically, what is the government run organization is there, from there they get it certain commercial revenues. And then interest they will receive it if the government is invested their money some other organization, then they will get interest. Now fees, fine, different fees, school fees, college fees, different fees are there. They will uh, get it the revenue from there. Fines, they, if you are not maintaining the law and order, they will charge fine, penalties, etc. That also another revenue for the government. Estate, estate is basically, we learn detail in the next slide. I'll just give it over here. Estate means the one who deceased uh, without leaving their successor. Their property is seized by the government, that is come under the estate, that is government revenue. Okay, so these are the detail of the component of the government budget. So we'll go for again detail one by one in the next slide. Budget receipts. First one is the revenue receipts. Revenue receipts are those receipts which neither create any liability nor lead to reduction in assets and can be divided into tax revenue, non-tax revenue. It is recurring in nature. Over here, the points, all are points mentioned. First part you have to remember, it's neither. The word when revenue is there, that you have to just remember some certain word, that is the it's neither nor. This part is there. It's very important to remember this term, that neither create any liability. I'll show you that how it is related, and the next part also will be very easy to remember, and nor lead to reduction in assets and can be divided into tax revenue, non-tax revenue. It is recurring in nature. We'll go to the next part, then it will be easier for you to understand how what I am trying to say over here. Now we'll go for the tax receipts. Tax receipts are basically uh, direct tax. What is, okay, first we'll go for the what is tax. Tax is basically the compulsory, legally compulsory payment imposed by the government on income, manufacturing, transportation, wealth, gift, property, export, import, etc. They are legally compulsorily payment. If you do not pay, you will be get fined, you will be get penalized, you will be jailed. That's why it is called compulsory. You cannot avoid it, you have to pay this tax. Now, type of tax are basically two types. There is a direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax, uh, sometimes question comes, what is the difference between direct tax and indirect tax? Direct tax are the tax where liability to pay the tax and burden of that tax is on the same person. This is important. The on the same person, the liability is there to pay the tax, and burden also imposed on that person, and he is personally liable to pay the tax. That's why it is direct tax. And its burden cannot be shifted to other people. That's the another important part, that you, if you are assessees, you are assessees means for giving of tax to the government, you cannot discharge your liability to other person, or you cannot shift it. And for example, it is given, that is the income tax and property tax. Okay, our next part is the indirect tax. Indirect tax are basically the government imposed tax on a person, but partially or wholly paid by some other person, and its burden can be shifted to other person. We generally know it that when we purchase any goods from the shop, we pay the tax over their GST, include GST is there. We are paying it, but the collection is made by the shopkeeper, and shopkeeper is liable to pay tax, that GST amount, to the government. So our tax is collected by the shopkeeper, burden is shifted to the other people, and that shopkeeper is liable to pay the tax. We are not liable to pay the tax. That's what the indirect tax. Indirectly we are paying it, but then the amount is going making payment by the shopkeeper. The example is given: sales tax, excise duty, VAT, GST, etc. Now, receipts from the non-tax revenue. Non-tax revenue are basically refers to the revenue of the government from the sources other than the tax, and they are uh, basically the commercial revenues, the revenue received by the government from the goods and service produced by the government agencies. For example, postage, interest on fund borrowed from the government credit corporation, then revenue from railways, etc. Their government is running a lot of commercial organization, and everyone knows that post office is selling postage. In the if you go for any property purchase and selling of any property, you have to buy the their revenue stamps, revenues. That is another revenue is collected by the government, and some government organization is there, certain institution, certain organization, certain production units, that is they are run by the government, like SAIL, VAIL, all these are government organization. Over there, whatever revenue is generated, that is commercial revenues. Government also run the railway department. From there, any revenue generated is there by selling of tickets, booking of tickets, etc., etc. There, from there, if there is any revenues, that will go to the government. So that's how the commercial revenue gained by the government. Another part is administrative revenues. Administrative revenues are basically fees, fine, penalties, estate. I have said it, that a claim of the government on the property of a person who dies without leaving the legal heir or without leaving a will. So a person is died, there is no claim, their successor for his property, his or her property, and that property is seized by the government. That is their government revenue. Okay, so that is the revenue part, that is revenue receipts. Now we'll go to the uh, capital receipts. Capital receipts are basically those receipts which either create. Now look at over here, the word over here, other revenue receipts, I said neither. Over here it's called either create liability or either or is used. In case of capital, either or is used. In case of revenue, there is a neither nor is used, and little bit of wording changes is there. But then all these are same things. If you check it, not same things, the definition are almost similar. Now we have capital receipts are those receipts which either create liability or lead to reduction of assets. It is non-recurring in nature. That's why it is borrowings. The example is given: borrowings, recovery of loans and advance, disinvestment of public sector unit, etc. That's the capital receipts definition. Now, capital receipts are classified into three groups. One is recovery of loans granted by the central government or state government, central to the state, and union territories by the government. That's what the recovery of loan. Next one is the borrowings and other liabilities. The government raises loan from the and Reserve Bank of India, foreign government, and other bodies. That is the liability created by the liability of the government. This is creation of the liability. Government is borrowing the loan from the market, that means from the public, or they are selling or they are taking loan from the Reserve Bank of India or foreign government or foreign institution. That is another source of the government borrowings from the external source. Now other receipts include capital receipts other than recovery of loans, borrowings, fund raises, uh, raise fund raised from disinvestment. Disinvestment means selling a part or whole of the public sector enterprise, means government run organization. If government is selling uh, to the recently, most of us we know it, that the Air India, Jet Airways, and they are selling by the government, and earlier they are all government nationalized bank, they are disinvested. That means they sell, government sells part or whole to the private sector. There is a LIC is there, life insurance corporation, which is the government owned, basically, that insurance business, that also they are planning to sell it to the private organization. That's all these are disinvestment, example of disinvestment, where the public sector enterprise are selling it by the government to the private sector. So this is the capital receipts because it reduces the assets of the government. Now we'll go to the expenditure, budget expenditure. First one is the revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. We'll learn it. The revenue expenditure, again I said it, remember I said it that there is a word use it either, neither nor. So Revenue expenditure are those expenditure which neither, again this revenue I said it, neither nor, this neither nor you have to remember it. So but then word is changed. Earlier it was neither create any liability, but over here it's neither create any assets, the just wording change, or nor lead to reduction in liability. So that is the uh, revenue expenditure, and these are basically example is given. It is because of the normal functioning of the government department for payment of salaries and pension, interest payment, subsidies, even for that matter scholarship to the student, they are all coming under the revenue expenditure of the government. Now capital expenditure. Capital expenditure are the expenditure which either create, again that word, when I said capital is there, then your word come either or. So these either create any assets or lead to reduction in liability, that is called capital uh, expenditure. Is given example, that is the purchasing of assets, that is land, building, share, etc., repayment of loan, construction of the school building, road, bridge, etc., they all are come under capital expenditure. Now other expenditure, other terms are there, that are planned expenditure, non-planned expenditure. Any expenditure which to be incurred during the program, during the plan period, during the its program is sanctioned under current 5-year plan, that is come under the planned expenditure. For example, say for example that government is planned in the 5 years that some of the cities will be declared as smart city. Like in Gangtok, there is a Namchi is declared as a it supposed to be a smart city. So during that plan period, whatever expenditure is incurred for that project, for becoming a smart city or coming up a new project, that all expenditure come under planned expenditure. Non-planned expenditure are basically the expenditure other than the expenditure related to the current 5-year plan. If that project completion project is over, to run and maintain the uh, that particular project, whatever expenditure is required, that come under non-planned expenditure. So that is planned and non-planned expenditure. So another part is the development expenditure, expenditure on activity which is directly related to the economic and social development, that is development expenditure. For example, expenditure on agriculture, industrial development, uh, rural development, these are direct called developmental expenditure. Now that is called non-developmental. Another one, non-developmental expenditure. Expenditure on essential general service of the government is called non-development expenditure. For example, expenditure on defense and administration, these are come under the non-development expenditure. Now type of budget. There are three type of budget. One is called balanced budget, when estimated government revenue is equal to estimated government expenditure, that is known as balanced budget. In this budget lead to slight increase in aggregate. It is not good for the less developed economy like India. So when your government estimated revenue, in revenue means over here if I take it the income, if government income is equal to government expenditure, that is basically called government balanced budget, which is not good for the developing economy like India. Now balanced budget formula is estimated government receipts is equal to estimated government revenue. Income is equal to expenditure, that is balanced budget. Next one is surplus budget. When estimated government revenue is more than the estimated expenditure of the government, that is known as the surplus budget. It lower the aggregate demand because you are not using your surplus, your savings for the consumption. That's why uh, this is again it is not good for the economy. Now next one is the deficit budget, where estimated uh, revenue, government revenue is lesser than the estimated expenditure. Over here government depends on the borrowings, and it is basically good for the underdeveloped economy, for like or developing economy like India, because over here this will help us for uh, bring the to basically the employment, create the employment opportunity, so that the unemployment problem can be solved and everyone get opportunity to generate certain factor income. That is the deficit budget. That's why among these three type of budget, if we say it that which one is welcome for the India, we'll definitely call the deficit budget. But then deficit should be within the control of the government. It should not be a large deficit, because it has a lot of demerits are there. We learn in the next phase what is the demerits or implication of the large fiscal deficit. So the fiscal deficit, deficit budget, therefore, estimated government, the formula is estimated government expenditure is greater than estimated government receipts. So expenditure is more, government receipts is less. That's why government is looked for the borrowings. So over here, borrowings is there, which will again give the negative impact. We learn in detail. Now we'll learn the deficit budget. The first one is revenue deficit. Revenue deficit are defined as the excess of revenue expenditure over revenue receipts. If your revenue expenditure is more than revenue receipts, then the difference figure is known as revenue deficit. So revenue deficit, therefore, revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Revenue expenditure, we learned it earlier. It is basically interest payment, non-interest expenditure, including subsidies. That is revenue expenditure, etc. are there. Revenue receipts. Revenue receipts are tax revenue and non-tax revenue. So therefore, the revenue deficit is equal to the total revenue expenditure minus total revenue receipts. What is the implication of revenue deficit? The implication of revenue deficit is that the government is borrowing for the normal functioning of the government department, and even for the payment of interest they start borrowing, which shows the country's financial system is getting destabilized. So if you are borrowing for just for making payment of salaries or payment of interest, normal functioning of the government, maintaining law and order, that is a danger situation for the economy, because you will nothing left for economic development, where it is necessary to create the assets, create the infrastructure, to create employment opportunity. That fund will be shortage for the economy, because they are in sort of revenue deficit. That's why all the time every government should has to, whatever their income, current income is there, they should meet their expenditure from the current source of income, not by taking of loan. Now fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is basically the sum of borrowings and other liabilities of the government. So fiscal deficit is basically total budgeted uh, receipts minus total budgeted expenditure excluding borrowings. So the formula is total expenditure minus total receipts other than borrowings and other liabilities. That is fiscal deficit. In detail, total expenditure means revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure minus total receipts means revenue receipts plus capital receipts, but capital receipts should not include the borrowings and other liabilities. So the fiscal deficit formula, therefore, total expenditure minus total receipts excluding borrowings, that is the fiscal deficit. That's why fiscal deficit is equal to the borrowings and other liabilities, that is borrowings equal to the borrowings. Now we'll just calculate a small problem over here. A government budget contains revenue expenditure 40,000 crores and capital expenditure 20,000 crores. Revenue receipts 23,000 crores. Capital receipts other than debt is given 22,000 crores. Borrowings is 15,000 crores. Calculate the revenue deficit and fiscal deficit based on the above information. So now over here, the first we will calculate the revenue deficit. Revenue deficit means the revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Revenue expenditure is given in the question is 40,000 minus 20,000. 23,000 is our total revenue receipts. So revenue receipts is 23,000. This 23,000 minus 40,000 is 40,000 your capital receipt revenue expenditure, that gives you 17,000 is revenue deficit. Now we have fiscal deficit is equal to again the revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure minus revenue receipts minus capital receipts other than borrowings, which comes 40,000 plus 20,000 minus 23,000 minus 22,000. I just put it bracket. If you remove simplify it, you will get it that 15,000 crores, and that 15,000 crores is basically equal to the borrowings. Borrowings, look at in your question, we have borrowings is 15,000. This 15,000 equal to the, that's why fiscal deficit definition is given that it is the sum of the borrowings and other liability of the government. So these are amount of the fiscal deficit equal to the borrowings. Sometimes this answer may not be given, borrowings amount may not be given, you just have to calculate and you can presume it that this amount is equal to the borrowings that government is taking either from the public or from the RBI or from the external agencies like World Bank, IMF. They can take it the loan from to meet these kinds of deficit amount. Now implication of fiscal deficit. The first implication is the inflation. The fiscal deficit is creating the inflation in the economy because the government is trying to spend more money on different the expenditure, either revenue or capital, and because of that disposable income of the people is increasing due to the increased rate of money supply. That is creating general price level of the commodities will increase day by day. That is the inflation pressure will create in the economy. Next one is debt trap. So if the government is taking the loan from the different source, different agencies, it gives the burden of payment of interest. Sometimes the fiscal deficit is too high and the interest payment is too high. That's why to make the payment of interest, government has to create another loan. They take it another loan to make the payment of interest. That's why to make the payment of interest, they take the loan and that loan again give the burden for payment of interest. That's what it's a vicious cycle is create for the economy and create revenue deficit in the economy. So this is the very danger for the economy. It's debt trap. Trapped it will be coming that every time they have to give the take the loan and that loan is taking just to make the payment of interest. That is again a difficult situation for the economy to overcome this situation. And presently the Pakistan is under this vicious cycle of debt is there. They are taking loan from the different international agency just to make the payment of the interest. Now we'll move to the next point, that is called foreign dependence. If you take the loan from the World Bank, from the IMF, from the different countries, from other external agencies, your foreign dependency will increase. And that's what, if you are not able to make the payment of loan in time or interest on time, that other country will dominate your country. That's what another danger for the economy. Next one is hamper the future growth, because you are taking loan to make the payment of the interest. There is no use of that loan for the capital development, infrastructural development, and that's why job opportunity will not be there for the economy. Just to taking the loan and giving the interest, it's create the burden for the future generation. It's adversely effect on the future growth of development of the country. That is the implication of fiscal deficit, which is very important for you in the even for the examination point of view. Primary deficit. Primary deficit refers to the fiscal deficit minus interest payment. This is very important formula. Primary deficit is equal to fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So primary deficit reflect the extent to which such interest commitment have compelled by the government to borrow the current period. Now implication of fiscal deficit. It basically the for as I said earlier that to take the interest, just to take the interest, make the payment of interest, government is taking loan. This is a very bad impact. Basically primary deficit is trying to measure this, that how much amount we are taking loan to make the payment of interest. So that's the, it indicates the how much government is borrowing are going to meet the expenses other than interest payment. This difference of fiscal deficit and primary deficit shows the amount of interest payment on borrowings made in the past. So a low or zero primary deficit indicate this. I think I have seen one CBSE question that low or zero primary deficit means what. So this low or primary deficit is indicate that the interest commitment for the economy on the earlier loan which forced the government to more borrow more fiscal deficit. So that means the zero fiscal deficit is equal to when your fiscal deficit is equal to interest payment. Zero primary deficit means fiscal deficit equal to when fiscal deficit equal to the primary deficit. These two are equal. That means this total figure becomes zero. Both are equal means total figure becomes a fiscal deficit 10,000, interest payment 10,000. So that means whole amount of loan, whole amount of making interest payment, whole amount is used for making the interest payment. That's why that primary deficit is zero, and it is absolutely hamper the future growth and development of the economy. Now, primary deficit is the root cause of financial deficit. In India, interest payment have considerably increased in the recent year. High interest payment on past borrowings have greatly increased the fiscal deficit. To reduce the fiscal deficit, interest payment should be reduced through the repayment of loan as early as possible. Obviously, that if you want to reduce your interest, your main objective is that you have to clear the principal loan. That principal loan, if you make the repayment, then your loan interest will be less. Okay, moving on to the next. Now, measure to correct different deficit. The first point is that to increase emphasis on tax-based revenue and appropriate measure to reduce the tax evasion, which means that the government should come out with a new different tax policy or increase the tax slab so that more tax should be maybe collected from that, and more people should pay the tax, and no one should escape from the tax payment. The second point is disinvestment should be done where the any government properties is not effectively utilized, then that can also be sold to the private organization, can collect the money from there. Now reduction in subsidies. By payment of subsidies, government is incur lot of expenditure, that can cut down the subsidies. Those who need, for them only subsidy can be provided, and the one who can afford it, for them subsidy may not require. That suggestion can be given to the government. Or there is a try to avoid the unplanned expenditure of the government. Unnecessary expenditure they can cut down. Next, they can borrow it from the domestic sources, from the public, from the bank, from the different financial institution, instead of taking loan from the external agency where the foreign dependency may increase. Next one is that to broaden the tax base may help to reduce the government deficit. Now, to summarize, the government deficit is a condition where the budget expenditure exceed the budget revenue receipts. This could be due to the sudden shift in budget requirement. A control deficit situation cause economy to grow. An uncontrolled government deficit may lead to deterioration of financial health of the economy. The agenda of the government should be planned and revenue and expenditure such that the economy move towards the balanced budget situation. So this is basically a certain amount of excess expenditure, that is fiscal deficit, is good for developing economy like India, but the huge fiscal deficit will give the bad impact on the economy. It gives the interest burden, inflationary pressure to the economy, as well as the future generation will be burdened of that loan, and the development, the objective of the economic growth will be hampered in case of the huge fiscal deficit. Now we are going to solve one more numerical question where to calculate the revenue deficit, fiscal deficit and primary deficit. The information are tax revenue is 47 crores, tax capital receipts is 37 crores, non-tax revenue 10 crores, borrowings 32 crores, revenue expenditure 80 crores, interest payment 10 crores, capital expenditure 11 crores. So now we'll go for solving the first one, that is the revenue deficit is equal to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Revenue receipts are basically tax receipts and non-tax revenue, tax revenue and non-tax revenue. So tax revenue is given over here 47, non-tax revenue given 10. So we'll take it for revenue receipts. So the first part of the problem solution is 80 minus 47 bracket plus 10, which is 80 minus 57 is equal to 27 crores, that is revenue deficit. Now the next part is fiscal deficit. So the fiscal deficit is basically, the formula is revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure minus tax revenue plus non-tax revenue, that is revenue receipts, and capital receipts excluding borrowings, that is the formula of fiscal deficit. Now of which we will get the information. From the information we have revenue expenditure is 80, capital expenditure 11, minus uh, the tax revenue is 47, non-tax revenue 10, and capital receipts is given 34, minus borrowings is equal to 32. If you solve it, you will get 32 crores, and 32 crores means that is also equal to the borrowings. Borrowings, where borrowing, yes, borrowings is 32 crores. This 32 crores over here, you will get it, the fiscal deficit is equal to borrowings. Now we'll go to the primary deficit. Primary deficit is equal to fiscal deficit minus interest payment. Fiscal deficit 32 minus interest payment is 20. We'll get 12 is our primary deficit. That's all this question. Homework assignment, I have given certain question. You have to do it based on this slide. You can prepare it some part. If you understand it, you read the books. From there also you will get certain information and you can able to solve this question. Thank you.